Welcome to Tech Talk Nation, talking about the latest tech, industry news, and hot topics. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Visit our website at techtalknation.com.
Good morning and welcome to Tech Talk Nation. I'm your host, Matt Fitzgerald, and we have a great show for you tonight. We are rebooting this podcast. It has been a long time since we put out our last episode, actually since 2019. So we have a great episode for you today, and we are looking forward to bringing this new YouTube version of Tech Talk Nation into the world. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our other co-hosts here. Today we are joined by Matt Grislow and Ryan Eastman. And how are you guys doing today?
I'm doing excellent, man. How you doing?
I am doing well. It is great to be back. It is great to get back into the podcast world here. And Ryan, you and I did a podcast, the last one back at Purdue in 2019. Can you believe that? So
barely.
right.
It's
been a minute, that's for sure. And then we have Matt Grislow, a newcomer to the show, joining us today. Matt, how are you doing?
I'm doing phenomenal. How are you doing, Fitz? It's good to be back, at least with you. You and I go far back. We have long history back to high school. So it's nice to be back with a familiar face. And I guess you as well, Ryan. I've known you since, BGR, freshman year?
Yeah, 5 years.
Thereabouts.
Man.
I notice you have... Matt, I can't help but notice you got something a little weird in the background there. Do you mind explaining what that is?
This one?
There it is. Yeah, that's a little odd.
Oh yeah, well, you know a little bit about this too. As all of you know, the pandemic's going on right now. No one can attend. Well, at least it's starting to change, but at least in the fall, no one could attend sports games. So Fitz decided he wanted to have his beautiful face at the Purdue Stadium, football stadium, Ross-Ade, and so he had his cutout put there, and they were being removed, and so he asked me to hold on to it, where he was supposed to come get it days later coming to campus, but that's slowly turned, or I should say quickly turned, into what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? When are you gonna get it? When are you gonna get it? Well, either way, I'm having a lot of fun with this guy. He's traveling with me every now and then.
You're growing attached to it.
Car rides, and I have fun. I live alone, so it gives me a little bit of I don't know, something to pal around with, something to take my mind off of the existential crisis of life and living alone.
For sure. Definitely. Well, I definitely can identify with you with that, with the pandemic and everything. It's all work from home now. We're coming to you live from 3 different locations here through the wonders of technology. We're all able to be on this one stream together, which is super cool. So yeah, great. How have you been, Ryan? How's everything going recently?
I'm good. It's just school and not going anywhere,
For sure. Yeah, I definitely get that. So, without further ado, let's take a look at our first article here. Matt, I believe you sent in this one. You were talking about the new SpaceX Starship launch.
Yeah, so on Wednesday, SpaceX launched another Starship rocket. I believe it was a test to 10,000 feet. They fired in sequence, or I guess unfired in sequence, all 3 of their engines in a sort of test, and it was really cool to see it. But I think the crazier thing to see was the landing. The landing is something that is really important for these rockets. Obviously, SpaceX is in the business of trying to recycle their rockets and try and reuse them. And so I thought it'd be really cool to show some of the footage here. So there it is, going up in the sky. And it's a big rocket too. I mean, it's big.
I read somewhere. Yeah, I read somewhere it's as tall as like a 13-story building or something like that. I'm not sure if that's necessarily true, but I read it. This thing is massive.
Yeah, it's huge. So there you see it's starting to shut down some of its engines, and there is the landing sequence. And believe it or not, the camera work there is actually a little kind of making tricks on your eyes, because they do a lot of fancy camera work there just so that it's easier on eyes. But there's a link I sent you. I don't know if you got it, that shows like a someone standing on the beach, like a POV shot of that thing, and that's what I wanted to, I think, discuss
let me
just a
see if
little
I can
further
pull
if
that
you
up real
have it.
quick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's well, it's from TikTok, right? So there you see it. That thing is completely horizontal, and it's fairly close to the ground, right? And all of a sudden, it starts firing its side rockets in the main one, and I think it's just incredible to see something like that. What they showed on their live feed, I think, is more of a science fiction look at it. They do a lot of fancy camera work, gimbals here and there, everywhere. But this is what you'd see from the ground, and I think this gives a better view to the viewers and shows just how amazing the work and the progress that team, that engineering team down there in Texas is doing. They're doing a crazy job about it. I don't know what you guys think. I'd like to hear some of your thoughts just seeing that footage.
No, that's my first time seeing it. That's insane what they're doing. Like, I can't even fathom the amount of like insane physics problems it takes just to like figure out where everything needs to go, how hard, all the torque and all that.
I mean,
It's
I completely agree with you. You got an electrical engineer, a computer engineer, and an IT guy on this call, and we're all very appreciative of all of the science that goes into this, all the technology that goes into this, and through all of this stuff, basically, um, like like you said, Ryan, it is unfathomable. I wouldn't even touch that physics with a 10-foot pole. That is for sure.
I mean, yeah, and they have to read all their sensors in real time and all that.
Yeah, all the computing on that has got to be real time, and your adjustments is instantaneously. Basically, you have to adjust things
Yeah.
2 seconds ago. So
Yeah, it's so amazing to see the work that they're doing. And then Elon Musk wants to, the founder, CEO of SpaceX, wants to make
Part
that
time evil
area
genius.
in Texas. Yeah, right. Or maybe, lizard person, we don't know. He wants to make he wants to make that area. I believe he wants to call it Starbase, in Texas. He wants to make
That was
it,
it. That was one tweet.
well, I think it actually
So was
isn't
the
far off.
flamethrower though.
You know what? It's not too far off though. But think about it like this: that is the it's called the Starship, right? So that thing is
Yeah.
supposed to be. It's meant for interstellar travel, but also um inter country, or not inter country, but national travel.
inter
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you,
yeah.
thank you. Got tongue tied for a
interplanetary, is
second.
that what you're saying? Like,
Well, it's a little bit of both, but and yeah, it's supposed to be able to carry people. At least the original plans carry people across the world in record times. For example, going from New York to Beijing.
I thought it was
Um,
only for planets. I didn't realize it was a earthly thing.
yeah, no, no, he's put out a plan about it. There's a whole video you can watch. It's fairly lengthy, but the idea is that where he's doing all of these tests right now, it really could become the next sort of travel hub like New York. New York would, I guess, be classified then as a domestic and international travel hub, whereas this new area in Texas could very well be the next international and um, stellar travel hub, which is it's insane to think of.
All right, one thing at a
Um,
time. Interstellar is a long ways away.
maybe interstellar is the wrong word, but interplanetary, right?
Interstellar
So
is we're gonna go to a new galaxy.
Yeah,
okay, well,
that's a
no,
little
Not a
bit.
new
I
galaxy, a
suppose
new solar system.
interplanetary then, to be
Yeah.
able to go to Mars, and Elon has
Yeah,
some
I
crazy
pulled up his
ideas, but who
tweet.
knows?
I pulled up his tweet. Creating the city of Starbase, Texas. From thence to Mars and hence the stars.
I
Nice.
mean, people thought he was crazy,
Uh,
when he was talking about all these pie in the sky ideas of reusable rockets, and look where we are now.
For sure. I mean,
he's an evil genius, man.
that is for sure. The only problem is though, with SN10 launching, there was something that did happen after it landed, which was a very big shame. And there's a lot of theory as to why, but the rocket went boom after it landed. which was a big shame. And basically, the rocket landed. It sat there. I want to say it was like 5 or 6 minutes. It sat there,
Hmm.
um, and then just complete explosion. Let me see if I can find a video real quick. But yeah, it's there. A lot of analysts are saying it was a methane leak from the engines themselves, and basically what was happening was the methane was leaking and they were still trying to put out a fire with the engine, and it just, what happens when there's a gas and some fire, I don't know. A big explosion, and
I
Things
mean,
go
yeah.
boom.
Well, the thing is, they send it up into space and then bring it back down. So the just temperature changes it's experiencing within that time is
mhm.
insane. So there's so many things that can go wrong.
I think in this test it was a low atmosphere, low orbit test. It was only 10,000 feet or so. It wasn't much, but I mean, this is also, not their first test, and it's
Mhm.
not the final product, so you'd expect things to go wrong. And
And you'd hope the
unfortunately,
final
things
product
did.
doesn't explode.
Unfortunately, things did for this starship, but hopefully they'll be able to tune it out. I mean, just the propulsion and controls of it all, they seem to have down pat. Now they just have to figure out, how to seal gaskets and make sure that pipes are tight and no
Right,
leaks, right?
right. And here's a video. I'm gonna switch over to this. This is a video of it landing. This is from Reuters, and then it just exploded from the pad, which was so sad to see. Just because, like, um, it was so successful looking, and then it just didn't. Tweet from
Honorable
Elon there,
discharge.
an honorable discharge. Yeah,
Elon.
it's a shame there, but yeah. So basically, some of the stuff that with that, it's a shame. And I understand why it happened, but the good thing about these rocket launches is nothing's a failure. None of these rocket launches are a failure. You can always learn something. There's the engineer and all of us kind of coming out here being like, "Hey, we didn't fail. We learned something, and we're gonna get better because of that." And that has
Failure
basically,
is the best teacher.
yeah, definitely. And one of the things that I remember SpaceX doing a long time ago was releasing the video on how to not land an orbital rocket booster. And it was basically, I think it was like to the 1812 Overture or something. And it was just all the Falcon rockets that SpaceX had made, and just how they were just blowing up. And it was just like a compilation video of all of them blowing up and kind of the reason in the corner of why it did that. Um, I really want them to make one of those for these. That would be a lot of fun. But
You know what? I think it'd be funny. I think it'd be awesome. But with the progress and the progress that they have at this point, they may not have enough footage for a big compilation like that. Because at that point, they were still trying to get the self landing technology down pat. Now this is a completely new vehicle, or spacecraft, but they've got the technology more or less figured out. I would say it's maybe 80% of the way there. They have the base of it there. They just have to improve on it for this specific spacecraft, though.
I mean, it looked like it landed.
And it did, and it did. That footage is a little misleading too, because they flash to the landing and then immediately they go to the explosion. But it sat on the launch pad for what, 5-6 minutes after it landed, before it exploded. So
yeah,
I'd say that's a success on the landing. It's just,
something.
I
The
don't know, whatever it
Some
was,
other
maybe
experts,
blown gasket or whatever.
right? The experts are also saying it landed a little harder than it should have, and that may have been
hmm,
why some of that stuff broke. I mean, definitely, I'm no SpaceX engineer. I am no way remotely qualified to be one, and hopefully that's something that they'll be able to figure out and kind of get a grasp on it. So that will be cool to see, especially as they get SN11 rolled out there, and probably try again. Hopefully within the next month or so. I'm not sure how far that uh,
I mean, I'm
rocket's
looking
come
forward
along.
to whenever their next launch is.
I mean, who can't be? It's a win-win either way. Either you get to
Yeah,
see cool scientific feat, or you get to see big boom. It's a lot of fun either way.
there's no losing. There's no losing
well,
watching it.
for some people, that big boom means a lot of gets just eviscerated in a second.
Yeah, very true. Very true. I mean, that it is a problem for um like Elon's wallet, but it is one of those things too where you're still learning, so it does have value. Cool, cool. So, Grislow, you also sent another story into the chat here about the robot dog Spot exploring the wreckage of the spacecraft.
Yeah, I thought this was something we could take a look at, and I think it's really interesting too. The reason I wanted to talk about this was I just thought it was really interesting to see the real world implications and uses for the Spot robot. Spot, obviously, I'm sure you guys know what it is. For people who don't know what it is, Spot is a robot made by a company called Boston Dynamics, and originally from called Boston Dynamics out of MIT, and they've done some incredible research and development and small scale production on some of these machines that they've built, and they're in some cases walking robots, and others like this they're little dogs. And so this version of one of their products, Spot, is available. You could purchase one. There's all kinds of silly things I've seen people do with them, but I think this is a very practical use of that technology, trying to survey a scene, see what happens. I don't know if you want to pull it up
Yeah, here,
on the screen so
let me
people can
switch
see what I'm
over to.
talking about.
Yeah, basically,
Yeah.
looks like in this article from the Independent here, all they're saying is basically they deployed Robot Dog Spot just to kind of go take a look at everything. There's a little video from South Padre here. Basically, they just took that to go survey the uh, wreckage there, and then see kind of what's going on. And like you're saying there, it is a very big opportunity for people to take a look at that, and like in big disaster areas, especially where it's unsafe for people to go, I definitely see the point of robots being able to take a look at that. I know in the past too, they did a similar situation. Granted, it wasn't a Spot robot, but for some of the stuff in Japan with the nuclear accident there, they deployed some robots to be able to go into the areas that were unsafe for
Fukushima.
yeah, exactly, that were unsafe for the humans to take a look at, and then kind of see what was going on there. So um, definitely see the purpose of it. What about you? What do you think, Ryan?
I want to see them go into the Chernobyl reactor because they haven't taken a picture of that in a long time.
For
But
sure.
also, I guess they renamed it Zeus. That's not really important.
Oh, the dog.
But yeah,
Nice.
Oh, really? Oh, I know there's different models of it. I know there's a bigger one and a smaller one.
oh no, I think SpaceX just renamed it that. But anyway,
Oh, okay. They gave it
their
their own
things
name.
aren't cheap
I
though. It's
like
like
that.
100K per uh, dog.
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah,
and they have a new
they're
one now. I
really
don't know
cool
if this
though.
one is
I've
that
seen you
one.
can see them move. You can see it if they get flipped over, how they get back up. Like it's it's wild.
Yeah, and some of them even have like an arm on them too, so they can grab, they can maneuver themselves in other ways, open doors, things like that. It's pretty incredible.
Boston Dynamics as a whole is an incredible company. I mean, if you haven't checked out their YouTube channel, I strongly recommend it. They have some pretty cool robotics YouTube videos on there. So it's great to see. I'm not sure if necessarily this alludes to a SpaceX Boston Dynamics partnership or anything, but it would be kind of cool to see if they could work together maybe in the future. Who knows? I can see it benefiting both sides a lot. So
Instead of him flying a Tesla into space, have him just toss a Boston Dynamics robot into space next.
I mean, whatever floats your boat or launches your rocket, I guess. So cool, cool. So yeah, this seems like a really interesting opportunity for SpaceX to kind of explore the wreckage here while it's not even necessarily um, bad to well, it's while it's bad for humans to do this. So um, awesome. Alrighty, so the next article we have here is okay, Ryan, you and your John McAfee stuff here.
Yes, yes, yes. Let me lead
So
in on this by starting off and saying that we are not financial advisors. We are not giving you any proactive advice on what you should or shouldn't do with your money. We will not be held responsible for anything you do with your money. All right, now we're free to talk about crypto.
okay, great.
So John McAfee. If anyone doesn't remember John McAfee, I'm sure you've seen McAfee antivirus on your computer or whatever. It's garbage. I hate it. But John McAfee is currently being arrested for fraud. He got paid, I guess, by several crypto companies to like promote their crypto on his Twitter, and he made a ton of money off this, I assume. Well, like both on the crypto and from being paid for them. And because he didn't disclose it, he's being charged with fraud.
Awesome.
Huh.
Yeah, there's this article here from MSN basically being like, yeah, he's indicted for failing to file tax returns for years of concealing assets. So yikes, that is a
I mostly just think it's a little funny because I don't know. I don't. It's real like it's not a good look when you're being paid to promote it and you don't just say, "By the way, I was paid to promote this."
yeah, you're thinking
Yeah,
that somebody's giving you genuine advice, and it's one of those things where it's like, hey, there was an ulterior motive here. You may not actually enjoy the thing. They're just giving you a lot of money to be able to um, do this thing. So I definitely can see how that can be a problem too, because even like on YouTube now, you have to basically tell the people, hey, there's a paid promotion within this video. Even on like Instagram and any form of other social media, there's all these like sponsored hashtags and stuff like that that you have to do because you're disclosing to your people that you're getting sponsored for this product. Um, so I I'm not sure how I feel about that. I definitely agree should be indicted on something like that because you're painting a false picture here. It's a form of fraud. So
Oh,
oh
it's
yeah.
definitely some form of fraud.
Well, anytime you're getting, contributions or money or donations or a paid gig, you gotta mention that it's a paid gig. And you mentioned this just a minute ago, Fitz. There are a lot of creators on, or I guess not creators, but what do they call them? They're influencers on Instagram and on these social media platforms, and some of them have come under fire. They come under fire all the time for things like that. They'll post a picture of them in a bikini or with some product or doing something, and they make it seem like it's just a picture of themselves and trying to fit it in their general content. But really, it's a paid promotion, and so they have to disclose that it is a paid promotion. But a lot of times they don't, and so they catch flack for it. And so I guess this is a big real world implication. Getting paid by what would you call it? Big crypto?
Big crypto. It doesn't tell us exactly what he was paid by. I think he was paid by some of the crypto teams themselves.
hmm.
Although I'm curious how that works though, because I mean, the whole idea about crypto and blockchain is it's decentralized. There's no like company behind it. There's no entity behind it. So I guess I'm curious how that works with
Yeah,
being
it's
paid to promote
possible.
a crypto.
Yeah, it doesn't really say who he was being paid by. I mean, it's possible like a big capital firm was paying him to try and push the price around a little bit.
Hmm.
Okay, so try
So
and
in a way, oh sorry, go
oh,
ahead.
I was gonna say trying to manipulate the market there, artificially inflate that uh, currency.
I was gonna say the same exact thing you said,
Yeah,
market
artificially inflate or
manipulation.
deflate it. Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, I feel like it's almost what the same situation that GameStop and or GameStop and what was it AMC were in a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
and it's hard. It's a sticky situation, especially that one because it's like, all right, well, it was the average everyday Joe. It wasn't like we had these big corporations conspiring, together to, inflate a stock. In fact, they were actively trying to devalue it and trying to get as much money out of it as they could by shorting
Oh, the
them.
stock was shorted by over 100%, which means they shorted more stock than there was in existence, I think.
Well, I guess maybe in that regard they did something wrong, but I think it's interesting because I
Oh, the
really do
companies
think that
did something wrong, is what I'm saying. The investment firms.
I think there's a lot of wrong on almost every side to it, right? I mean, it's so hard to. I think, and
I don't.
I'm an electrical engineer. I'm an electrical engineer. My major is electrical engineer. I work on automation software for my job. I don't really know much about economics, but the way I see it, I think a lot went wrong when you have very public, open forums with large amounts of people. And it's just pocket change, I guess, at that point for buying these, really inexpensive stocks at the time, but them rallying around this, we're going to the moon chant. It's hard to say that they did anything wrong, but they sort of did. Then you have the whole Robin Hood and Citadel situation, right? Where
We'd have to have a fight.
it's I think it's so hard to say that one person did something wrong because I feel like there's a lot of people that did something wrong, and that story's gone and past. It's been some time since it's happened, so I don't know if you guys will spend time talking about it, but I do think
I'm
it's
about to, because I feel the need to rebut what you just said.
all right. Well, in that case,
I feel the exact
rebut
opposite
away.
about that. All the firms and a ton of people had shorted GameStop by over 100%, which means they said basically when you're shorting a stock is you buy it for someone from a price on like the basis that it's going to go down in price.
Right.
Which means they shorted it more than existed.
So
the only way for them to make their money was for them to make sure GameStop goes under and dies. So what happened there is a bunch of people noticed that and said, oh, we can just like make sure GameStop's stock price isn't dropping and dropping and dropping. And then we just make money off of it because these people are all betting on it going down.
Right.
It is really messed up, I guess. I shouldn't say I guess. It is. It is really messed up.
It's the difference between shorting and investing. Because shorting is
Right.
like betting that this is going to go down. Investing is buying it and holding on to it. And then whatever happens is what happens.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the big companies didn't do anything wrong here.
I'm saying they put their money on basically a bet, and a bunch of people said, oh, well, you shouldn't have done that. That's a bad idea, and we can punish you for that. I think they got what's coming to them.
Okay, so you're saying they did mess up, and what they got was well-deserved.
Yes, they shorted a stock by over 100%.
No, I agree with you.
Which is, it's impossible to win on that unless the company goes under. That's the only way you win on that. So all they did was make sure GameStop didn't go under, and those people lost a ton of money.
Right. And I agree with you. I think what they did was wrong, but I don't necessarily think that this whole. I mean, I guess thinking about how this goes in the future, what is described or what's the definition now of insider trading, right? I mean, is it a sticky slope or
that's not insider trading at all.
Slippery slope, I suppose. Well, right, but it's the idea of people getting together, deciding they're going to do something, and it having mass market implications.
Okay, but here's the thing. It's not insider trading. They don't have insider knowledge, first of all, and second of all, they're doing it in a completely public forum. There's no like backhauls deals here. You can see every post they make and react however you'd like to it.
Right, but take as example the content moderator of Reddit. At some point, don't they have a financial or a responsibility just to try and stop a mass market tank, or I don't know. It just seems something just doesn't seem right here. And maybe what it is the system is legislated a certain way, or it's built a certain way for certain outcomes to happen. And when all of a sudden a very random event happens that was never covered under these current laws, it just kind of flies under the radar or passes because it works under the current system that we have. Do we need more legislation to stop something like this in the future?
I think it's completely legitimate for this to happen.
Yeah,
they saw a bunch of people and they said, oh, you shouldn't have done this. we're gonna basically take your money because you made a stupid bet.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like it's power of the masses here. You have 100,000 people doing whatever they want, and then you have one or a couple big corporations that are kind of wanting to control the way something happens. And in a way that I feel like it's right in the way that um, power in numbers in a way, where you have everybody kind of doing a little bit that adds up eventually. If a lot of people have a problem with this, they're free to spend their money in the way however they feel like it, in my opinion. So
I guess the thing that I go back to in my head that bothers me so much, and it shouldn't, but it does. Um, the people that are behind, the whole we're going to the moon, we're bringing GameStop to the moon. These are people that don't have thousands and thousands of dollars backed up in their bank accounts in case one of their financial investments doesn't pan out. And yeah, there were so many rich people, or I mean, what the three of us would consider rich people, at the time, who lost incredible amounts of money, spectacular amounts of money. But it's almost at this point where I do somewhat agree with the Robin Hood CEO, or maybe it wasn't him who said this, but you know, a lot of these people that traded for GameStop, they don't have any sort of financial wherewithal. They don't understand the stocks. They don't understand that you could buy it at $1, it could go up to $100 today, and then tomorrow it could be worth nothing. And there are definitely people who out there that don't make a lot of money, don't have a lot of money, spent some money they had and lost a lot of it. And so it's that part of me that feels really badly about the average day Joe who tried to make money on this situation, try to capitalize on it, but ultimately ended up losing a lot. I know people that didn't make much who were servers that made a cool 10K, right? But that's one person who made out at the right time, and no one knew when the right time was either. People thought it was gonna go down the next day, and then there were some people that said, "We're holding it, we're holding it, we're holding it." So how long do you hold the line and do that, right? It's hard to say, but I do feel badly for those people who got screwed in a situation that has never. I mean, has it happened in the recent, I don't know, 10 years, last 10 years,
Nothing
20
like
years?
that has ever happened before, as far as I know.
right, well,
But
anyway.
I think at the end of the day, you have to be responsible for your own actions, though.
I think it's fair.
And I think it's asinine to try and save people from themselves.
But I think that the Reddit people weren't doing as many favors to those people who don't know any better. They go on Reddit and they joke and they go, "Oh, ha ha ha! Like, let's get 10Ds, let's go to the moon." But I really, at the end of the day, don't believe that a lot of these people don't know like where their money's going. They ultimately don't realize what they're doing. Trading is foreign to them. Like, it's just not. It's not their thing. So I think
I mean, you got to be
they
able
did
to
them a
make your own
disservice.
decisions, though. That's the.
Mhm.
I think it comes down to you have to be able to make your own decision and be responsible for the choices you make.
Right,
Correct.
but I think there's
And
also
not
reasons
hold us
why there's
responsible for any financial advice, by the way. This isn't
right.
financial
We are
advice.
not. We are not.
We're
We
just
are
talking
not
about
financial advisors.
tech and news
I
here.
think we mentioned this already. We're an electrical engineer
Yes,
and
but
then
I need
IT
to.
people.
I need to make it very clear.
Yep.
Do not hold me
Right.
responsible for any investments, especially with the next story.
These are
Right.
merely our
Definitely.
opinions.
So, the next story that Ryan suggested was crypto coin outperforming Bitcoin is about to see the supply reduced. So, can you talk a little bit more on that one, Ryan?
Yeah. So I'll do a little bit of disclosure here. I have a fair bit of investments in crypto. I'm pretty passionate about it. I think it's a very cool technology. It's very useful. I love it. I have some bias here, obviously, in favor of crypto. But what's going on here is so Ethereum is revising how they basically pay people to basically process transactions on their network. So what goes on is like for Ethereum, when you want something done on Ethereum, like somewhere has to process what you want done and add it to the blockchain, and people get paid for that. But basically, what they're doing is they're subtracting how new Ethereum tokens get created. They're reducing the amount that get created when someone performs the work to add a transaction. So what that's going to do is it's going to lower the new supply of Ethereum as time goes on. If you
It-
know anything about supply and demand, I'm going to make a wild conjecture here. This is, once again, not financial advice from a financial advisor. Don't do anything based off what I say. I am not an expert. But that being said, I think it'll likely go up in price now that supply is going to get restricted a little bit, basically.
I mean, it makes sense. It's your like Econ 101 class right there, where
Yeah,
you
supply
have
and
more
demand.
supply, your price goes down. If you have less supply, your price is higher. So, I mean, I could see that happening definitely, and it's going to be interesting though. I'm from a technical standpoint, I'm going to be interested to see how they actually implement this change throughout the blockchain as a whole. I mean, I'm no expert on blockchains per se, but from what I understand, you set when you create the blockchain, you set everything the way you want it to be, and then you just roll with it. I have never heard of people changing it in the middle.
No, Ethereum is updatable. That's its
Oh, okay.
advantage over Bitcoin. Is you can roll updates to Ethereum. You can't change what is on the blockchain. The blockchain is immutable,
Okay,
but you can change how things are processed and how transactions happen.
that makes sense.
So like usually like a crypto is more like a standard than anything else.
Ah, for
And
sure.
some standards, like I'm pretty sure Bitcoin is set in stone.
Hmm.
Like it's just this standard and the standard doesn't change other than like bug fixes maybe because it is still code. But other ones like Ethereum, you can actually update how the standard adds new blocks to the chain and all that.
For sure, definitely.
But
I
that's
mean,
what's going on here. They call it, I think they call it gas fees
yeah.
when
Hmm.
someone processes a transaction to add a new block onto the network.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
Mm.
that's how new tokens get created, and they're limiting it a little bit.
definitely. Any thoughts on that one, Matt?
You know, I'm still trying to wrap my head around crypto, and I'm beating myself over the head with a metal rod about every day. I remember and this is nowhere near like the time where it would have been financially like I shouldn't say financially worth it. It still is, but I don't know. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I want to say it was in November, December, and the price was going up and up. This is one of the first times that it started to really skyrocket in a long time, and by long time, I suppose maybe 10 years. But it was going up and up, and it was the end of the year, and I decided I'd put $40 in it, and I lost 10 after I pulled out a few
What was
weeks
this,
later. It ended up
2017?
yeah, it was going up, 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 and then all of a sudden it started going down, and it just went down. It didn't go all the way down, but it went mostly down, and it stayed there for a while until this recent boom. And so I think back to that every time I think about crypto and Bitcoin specifically, and go, I should have kept that money because that $40 would be worth so much more now.
Yeah, I saw everything
Now,
swinging way, way up in 2017. And I said, I shouldn't buy right now. I should wait until it
yeah,
crashes and then buy. And that's
yeah.
exactly what I did.
Well,
Yeah, well, I think I'm gonna have to bite the bullet and do it anyway. Um, I guess the one thing I don't understand though, and I suppose I should because this is basic economics, right? Like the U.S. government doesn't just print money, right? We have a certain amount in circulation. We're not just gonna print money if we need more money, right?
That's
Um,
it. What do you mean? That's exactly what we do.
oh, well, I guess we do then.
That's
Um,
exactly what fiat money is. What are you talking about?
well, um, I guess the idea of limiting or there being a finite amount of Bitcoin. Um,
Yes.
I
So
I
I
don't I don't
I can explain
understand.
this very simply, actually. So do you remember? I think is it geometric regression or progression?
regression.
It's like 1/2 plus 1/4 plus whatever, where
Yes,
Oh,
eventually
okay.
it'll
regression,
never equal
I
one.
believe.
So the way Bitcoin works is the first, I think it was 3 years, X amount of Bitcoin get created. And then the next 3 years that goes down by half. And the next 3 years that goes down by half. So you can basically draw a curve on like the limit of how much Bitcoin will ever get produced.
Right.
Hmm.
Because if you do
Okay.
1/2 plus 1/4 plus 1/8 plus 1/16, and you keep halving it each time, you're never
Yeah.
going to be able to touch 1. The
Well, I
limit
guess
will
what's
always be at 1
right. Well, what's the point of that though?
to not artificially inflate a currency.
because there's a finite
Okay,
amount.
okay,
Because
Mhm.
that's
okay.
like that's a lot of cryptos people like issue with fiat money. Is a government can say, "Oh, I feel like printing more money or I feel like printing less money this year." And that can artificially change the value of your money.
When you say fiat money, what do you mean?
I mean paper usually.
Okay.
When I say fiat, it usually means paper that's only backed by government. There's not backed by a
An asset.
physical asset.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
like we
okay.
went off the gold standard, I think in the 30s, or it might be late 20s.
Right.
So like that was a different
I
kind of
should
money
know
because
this.
that was backed. Yeah, that was backed by a physical asset.
Right. And even
And
though
I think today we're semi-backed on like oil. That's where you get things like the OPEC dollar, but
something like that, but needless to say, it is
not an economist.
right. Once again, we are not economists. We do not know anything about money. We are just kind of talking, and we're just chilling. Speaking of
I wouldn't say we know nothing about money, but we are not
I mean,
financial
clearly I know
advisors.
nothing about money.
We're not financial advisors. Don't take our word for things.
for sure,
There's a reason I went to school for electrical engineering and not econ.
right. Well, speaking of kind of electrical engineering and money, and that finite
Ooh,
supply amount of Bitcoin, the next story that I brought, I didn't even tell you guys about this one. This actually came out
Ooh, surprise me.
a couple weeks ago on the 10th of February. I have an article from BBC here. Um, Basically, currently, it has been said that Bitcoin consumes more electricity than Argentina as a whole. So basically, they're saying like in order to mine and keep Bitcoin running, the um, the electricity in that uses more than the entire country of Argentina. It says the University of Cambridge's online tool estimates Bitcoin's annual electricity consumption is more than the Netherlands, UAE, and Argentina. Like that is insane to think about. Just to show all of the stuff here, like the energy usage with all the countries, and Bitcoin shows up on there in terawatt hours, which is insane. So, for those of you who don't know, the way that Bitcoin kind of works is basically you have to mine it. So, you have to do floating point operations on the blockchain in order to get rewarded with a X amount of Bitcoin. And it,
Modulus operations, but that's neither here nor there.
right. Um, Basically, though, what that's able to do is we can then you get rewarded for that, but that does cost energy. So, in a way, the asset that's backing Bitcoin in a way is energy, and spent energy to do these calculations. You could make the argument either way.
Yeah. No,
Um,
I think I've made
Hmm.
that argument before to someone.
but yeah, basically, so Bitcoin now shows up on as almost a country in a way in terms of energy usage. So what do you guys think about that?
well, my first question is how do you gather all of the specific, I don't know, energy uses of Bitcoin across the world? I think that's pretty amazing to me. The fact that it eclipses Argentina's energy use is pretty astounding to me as well, especially on the order of what you say terawatts. I mean,
Yep. Hmm.
that's a lot of money, or it's a lot of energy there. I've seen a ton of crazy rigs. I've seen some of those RTX crazy gaming uh, graphics cards or whatever they were being used in big, large arrays costing upwards of $80,000, and they're generating a ton of money. But I think it's crazy to think about the energy behind that, and it's interesting that you brought up too an energy-backed currency, because in a way, I suppose it is.
Yeah. Contextualize things a little bit. Argentina has a population of about 45 million and a half.
Wow.
They have a density of 17 people per square kilometer.
Okay.
Yeah. In the
What's an
United States, it's about double that. We're at about 36 people per kilometer squared.
Okay. So, I mean, still to think about though, that is insane. Like the fact that it is still the amount of people that we are using there, like the amount of energy equivalent in people that we're using for this currency is insane.
Yeah, it's about 0.5% of the world's population.
For sure. I mean, it's a
So
lot of
that's
energy,
absurd.
a lot of terawatt hours right there. Um, but
I mean, yeah, you got to use electricity to process Bitcoin. You got to cut down trees to issue paper currency. Like, it's just a trade-off.
true.
Nothing's free.
I know there's a lot of the reason that a lot of Bitcoin miners are flocking to Nordic states like Iceland um,
Cheap
is
energy.
is the cool air that allows you to
You don't have to pay as
passive
much for a cooling
yep
solution.
passive cool the mining rigs and geothermal energy, where they can actually use the
Mm,
geothermal energy to generate the electricity that the mining computers would use. So it is nice to see a good step in the renewable type direction. It is one of those things though where it's like, um, is it worth it? Um, and I'm
I
not
mean, I think it's just
necessarily
a
sure.
trade-off.
Yeah,
You got to
definitely
cut down trees to, create more paper currency. Like, I don't see it as any better or worse.
for sure.
I mean, this currency, the value of this currency is only going up and up. So
Yeah.
as long as it is only going up and up, it's a valuable investment.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, that's once again not an economist, but loosely tied to differential rates of inflation between most currencies and Bitcoin, and then also just scarcity.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. Looks like my streamer here just cut out for a second, but I think we're back. We're good now. So yeah, my FPS dropped down to a wonderful like 6 for like a second. I don't know what my computer was trying to do
Beautiful
here, but
6 FPS.
right,
We love it. We love it.
right. Well, anyway, I that's kind of all I have for today. Do you guys have any other articles you quickly want to bring up, or any little tidbits you want to share?
I don't think so. Next week or next time we do this, I do have something I do want to do some more research on, but I think it'd be an interesting topic that I'm not sure either of you know much about. So I'm
Is it
I'm
graphene batteries?
no. It's we'll talk about it next time.
Yeah.
For sure.
Leave everyone on a cliffhanger.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
there you go.
I'll leave you on a cliffhanger. My first episode.
There you go. Well, you have anything else, Ryan, or are we good?
We are not responsible for any financial investments you create.
For sure. There we go. Gotta be said. Well, anyway, I'm probably going to bring the show to a close for today. Thank you so much to Matt and Ryan for being on today. Thank you for listening to Tech Talk Nation. And tune in next week. We're going to try and get this restarted, kind of get this podcast re-going. And now that we have YouTube as well to distribute our content on, this is going to be a lot of fun. And we'll keep you posted on everything that's coming on here. So thank you guys so much for your insight today. I really appreciate it. And we'll pick it up next week. Alrighty. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for listening to Tech Talk Nation. Tune in next week for more discussion on the latest in tech.